why Jake was there. Jake Harrow, the father of baby Emmanuel, was at the search site. Emmanuel's not found. He's standing around. He's not helping. But the answer to this question, significant in trying to peel back the layers of where we are in this investigation. I'm Vinny Politan, lead anchor for Court TV. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining me, Al Wunsch III.
Hola, Tangenistas.
And of course, the radio legend, Jonesy.
Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey.
And this is the Tangent Podcast.
It's Vinny and the Tangent, true crime podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangent, true crime podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangent, true crime podcast.
Welcome, it's Friday. It's the soundtrack of your Friday, the Tangent True Crime Podcast, as we get ready to dive into the latest in the Baby Emanuel search, the Baby Emanuel prosecution of his parents, Rebecca and Jake. This is a case that's to me, prosecutors, if they really want to lock this down, need to find that child. I absolutely believe. Yes, you can prove a case without a body, but to me, there's a level of fear if they don't find Baby Emanuel quickly, because evidence, and I hate saying this, evidence is disappearing each day that they don't find Baby Emanuel, about cause and manner, which is so necessary depending upon who this jury is and how these arguments are being made, because there's a lot out there. Al, how 0 to 10 from your perspective for prosecutors, how important to find Baby Emanuel quickly before the evidence associated with his remains disappears?
Well, it's probably on a 7 to 8 in that range, because the thing is this: they're making a narrative that this baby had been abused and that there was a history of abuse on this poor child. And if you're going to be making that narrative, you really need to get some sort of proof. Now, they certainly have some other things they must have been able to review that gives them that narrative. But so finding, the remains would be important, at least to add to that. It's not essential under the circumstances. And given the fact that this poor child was probably disposed of in a horrendous, a heinous and horrendous way, I don't know how much they're going to actually be able to find, sadly.
Yeah, because I think there's a sense, and there's a sense that prosecutors of confidence when you have defendants who lie about a missing child.
Right.
And Jonesy, I go back to the history of this. That woman in Central Florida, the mother of Kaylee Marie Anthony, was a liar who pointed the finger. Here we're talking about Ola Man. Down there we were talking about Zanny the nanny. He got to trial. They changed their theory. They did boop boop, and the next thing you know, she's walking out of the courtroom. And in that case, it took too long to recover Kaylee Marie. They had no evidence of what happened to her, and that was a problem. The jury couldn't get past that. The jury could not get past. The jury rewarded the defendant for disposing of the child in a way that the child wasn't found. That's my fear here, Jonesy.
Well-founded fear, I might say.
That the words, it's such a small child. such a small child means that the evidence dissipates that
Yeah.
more quickly.
Going back to what what I had mentioned last week, I thought a body is important to be found
Absolutely.
for not just for the evidence that may decompose, but also because that sets in stone what actually happened.
Right.
It is and it isn't. I mean, see, I think it's more essential in a case where you could leave. When you've got an adult who can get up and move to another
Yeah,
place.
but they're going with she's sticking to the Ola story.
Well, of course she's sticking to the Ola story because she's obviously not that intelligent to begin with. So, and husband is not sticking to the Ola story.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not. Why would they be out doing a search in a certain area?
Right, so
I mean, we're calling this
why
Jake was there.
Tell me why Jake was there. If he's not showing investigators where the baby is, if he's not actively participating in the search for this baby, but he is just there with detectives while everyone else is further in doing the actual search.
Well, he could also be misleading them. They're searching through an area and not finding anything, right?
You don't do that in that situation. That's not a very bright move. He's got an attorney. I'm sure his attorney's telling him that, whoever turns first gets the best deal. And this guy's already got one strike against him. So, California is pretty strict about the strike rule. And a situation with him, I mean, he's looking at going away forever with no chance of parole. And they're also, now questioning why he was out to even begin with, given the fact that the daughter that he abused is bedridden and has cerebral palsy. I mean, it's just a horrific, this man is just evil.
Yeah, but here, he's nowhere near the people who are searching. He walked in a little bit. This is like as far as he goes. And if you look where the searchers are, they're much further in. And he's surrounded by detectives, obviously. It looks like there's some level of a conversation there, but it's not like, oh, no, go over here or go further in. He does not appear to be actively participating in the search.
They can't put him in the area. All they can do is because if he's in the area, he could contaminate whatever they find. And that's why you never see them, like they'll bring you up. I mean, I've been involved in a situation like that where they get you to an area where you can see, and then you direct them from there, or you've told them in the car ride over, this is where, it's going to be. And then they go and you stand back. And even your attorney stands back with you, which is what I've had to do on a couple of occasions. So they're not going to let him in any proximity to where he could spoliate any evidence.
He's not helping at all. He's not helping. Now, here's the other thing that and we broke this news on my show last night with Bobby Chacon, former FBI investigator who lives in the area. He drove by the night before and they had sealed off the area. Law enforcement the night before the search was already sealing the area. So whatever information they received the day before. So they had time to prepare for the search, but they had the area sealed off to keep people out. Now they did the search and they never went back. They did a one-day search, maybe more like half a day search, found nothing. And look, you see how widespread they are, kind of doing a grid search here, looking around. He is nowhere to be found, but they find nothing. They find nothing. Which brings us back to the question why Jake Harrow was there. Was he there to stir things up? Was he just brought there? Did he cooperate? They've described it as, and let me play a little bit of this because it's such a strange.
I'm not going to go into grave detail about that, but there is some level of cooperation with the suspects involved in this, and we're trying to locate that, and our job is to follow every lead.
So that's him responding to the question as to why they were there. Some level of cooperation from the suspects. He used the plural.
Right.
Suspects. And this is information that they got on Saturday. But Saturday, I believe it was Saturday was the day that Rebecca was interviewed and stuck with the Ola man story, that it was Ola man who abducted Emmanuel. But here he's saying the suspects are what's somewhat cooperation? Like, what is that? What does that mean?
That's like being kind of pregnant.
Right. I don't get it. You're either cooperating or you're not. Somewhat cooperative. Like, what does that mean? They're saying things, but we don't know if they're true. Then that's not necessarily cooperating.
Well, the thing is this, that, you know, when I saw that he was out, that Jake was out in that area with the authorities, and they were doing basically was a grid search. It led me to the conclusion that he was told that's where the body was disposed.
By who? Ola man?
No,
or Rebecca?
No, by Rebecca. That he may not have been involved in that aspect of it. Then there's that, we've heard rumors that he said he smothered the child, he rolled over accidentally, and the child was not, and then maybe mom was the one that then took the remains and then disposed of them. And this is what she told him. Okay.
So he is saying, he did an interview from behind bars also.
Right.
And he's saying that the ongoing abuse did not happen, is not true. Number one, that's expected. Number two, he was vouching for his wife, Rebecca, saying she did nothing. She is innocent. He didn't talk as much about himself. He talked about her. She also spoke about him, saying he's a great father who would never harm a baby, despite the fact that he was convicted of doing just that. So it's scattered all over the place. And I wanted to freeze on this so you see how far deep in that they went here. And Jake Harrow is nowhere near where the searchers were.
Well, what you just said demonstrates to me the answer to the question, what is somewhat cooperative? So, somewhat cooperative seems to be the answers that they're giving. Just a little, a nibble here, a nibble there, but then the backpedal of, she's swell and he's swell, and this, that, the other thing. So that seems to be what could be constituting somewhat cooperative.
So,
here's a wider shot of the area. Go ahead, Jonesy.
So if they are leading authorities to this area by being somewhat cooperative, and they're not blaming one another, I mean, my guess would be, if they're not admitting it, my guess would be they're saying, well, maybe this particular area would be where so-and-so would have done this.
Ola man?
Well, they wouldn't know where Ola man. So I was thinking they'd have to be saying one another.
That would be Dunde a star man.
Yeah.
Because Ola man is, gone with the wind,
This is, and see what the real problem is, right? Because they're at this point they're charged, so you're going to get no information, specific facts from prosecutors, and even said so at the press conference. You're going to hear it in court, and we'll read it in motion papers, etc. That's where we're going to get more of the facts of the case. But they didn't go back. Like, they did the search and then that was it. Like, you searched every possible place it could have been there. Like, you're not back there. So what does it mean? And if you listen to the way they described their knowledge of where Emmanuel could be, it went all the way from we don't know where he is to we have a very good idea where he is to somewhat cooperation. It's like all over the map. And it was very difficult to follow because it did not make sense. We were getting contradictory statements from investigators and the DA, like contradicting each other about exactly what was going on. Now, if the suspects are somewhat cooperative, it's just Jake Harrow who was brought to the scene. Now, the other thing about the lawyer, and I was really hung up on the fact that he had representation, but then when they appeared in court, all of a sudden he didn't have a lawyer and there was a conflict with the public defender's office.
Correct.
So Vincent Hughes, who was the lawyer / DJ, just like another lawyer I know, I guess is not going to be in the case for the Red Rum trial because probably they couldn't come up with the money that is needed for something of that level.
Mr. Green did not appear.
So that changes things. So if they don't have representation, I believe that they were just taken there. I believe Jake was just taken there.
Wouldn't authorities want them to have some sort of representation? I mean, I realize that you want to be able to take advantage of their not having representation, but by the same token, wouldn't authorities want them to have representation so that
you can't give them representation? That's up to them to get it.
But don't you want that ensures that everything's on the up and up and there's no question afterwards.
That brings us to an important question here, because there's been a lot of talk about the alleged confession to an agent who was placed, a fake inmate who was placed inside the jail, who apparently, there's sources reporting to reporters that there was a confession by Jake. And then there was a complete denial by the DA. Again, another conflict. Confession, no, that's misinformation. So I think we have to look at both scenarios.
Is that kosher to do that legally?
Legally, yes. What?
To have somebody planted in a prison who's not.
Well, I think that's the issue. I think the problem may be, if in fact there was a confession, I believe the DA may be concerned that it was not lawfully obtained.
So if you had
admissible in court, so they did not want. They're not acknowledging that it exists.
So if you had a lawyer at the time while this was done, wouldn't that be a violation? Because now you're speaking to the authorities.
Yes, but you don't even need a lawyer. You're in custody. You are locked up before anyone working on behalf of law enforcement attempts to get information from you. They have to Mirandize you.
Right.
Now, you got to Mirandize, even if you're an undercover. You got to Mirandize them. Otherwise, that thing's not coming in.
Right. But and that's provided that it is someone that they planted there, as opposed to a fellow prisoner that happens to be a snitch.
Right. It's not. And the allegation of the reporting is that it was someone it was a Perkins operation, is what they call it, I guess, in California. Right. I don't know. That it was someone working as an agent of law enforcement placed in there for not a real inmate, but placed in there for the purpose of obtaining the information. And this is from someone who's in custody. A defendant is in custody, not free to go. He's in jail. You start questioning him or trying to elicit information, got to be Mirandized.
There's a large amount of case law on that. And I just want to bring up from the standpoint of that, these so-called jailhouse snitches. This is how they caught the Manson family. Susan Atkins was in jail for an unrelated charge to the Red Rums that had occurred at the behest of Charlie Manson and by his followers, and was telling the story to two of her roommates, for lack of a better word, cellmates.
And I think they call them cellies. They call them
cellies. Celebrities, not celebrities at this point. Well, actually they were, because they got pretty famous as a result of this. And they were freaking out with this story and were compelled to tell prison officials as to what she had said. And then they followed up, and obviously then at that point they made arrests. So, I mean, that does happen a lot. The other thing that came to my mind with regards to bringing Jake to the scene, there was also a famous case, the United States Supreme Court case, where the police had the defendant in the back seat. The defendant was, sitting there, was not saying anything and everything else. And it was a rainy night, and it was a scary area. And the police officer kept saying how terrible that little baby's, that little child is out here in the elements like this. Can you imagine how horrible that must be? That poor little baby and that poor child and everything along those lines. And then basically gave a guilt complex to the defendant, who then subsequently pointed out where they could find the body. And they were ruling as to whether or not that was a form of interrogation,
right,
that would have required them to not be able to use the statement pursuant to Miranda rights and everything along those lines. And,
what they say, give me the ending.
Cops are allowed to trick you. They're allowed to trick you. And so it was okay.
So that was, but you're like, anytime you're in there though, that like you are walking a tightrope.
Yes, absolutely.
Between interrogation and trickster, because that guy was not free to leave. He was in custody. He was in the back of a police cruiser.
Right.
So is the cop just speaking out loud? He's not directly questioning him.
That's what he was doing. Was that he was saying, obviously they
psychological coercion.
Right. They had two police officers in the front seat. He was in the back seat.
Okay.
And the plexiglass was in such a way that he could hear what was going on in the conversations. As boy, oh boy, how horrible for that little child to be out here in this weather with this rain. What's going to happen to that little child?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
You're trying to save a life. So
right.
you get more aggressive. And I know law enforcement does this. They're not as worried about the case down the road. They're trying to save a life at that moment. So you can be a little more aggressive in that case. And luckily that stood up for them. In this case, I think the problem is if, in fact, they did do this operation and they got a confession that was either not true or not legally admissible, the other problem is if part of that confession led them to the site where the search was, the results of the search would not be admissible either. That's the fruit, Jonesy, of the poisonous tree. You don't want the fruit of the poisonous tree. It's not admissible. So I don't know what the truth is about why the reporting from a very credible source, Brian Enton, News Nation, is in such conflict with what the DA is saying. It's either the source is wrong or the DA is, purposefully misleading. And like you said, they're allowed to lie. So if they can lie to a defendant, they can lie to the media and they can lie to, the public if they want.
Right.
Right. So
absolutely.
Here we got something from Little Miss America. Thank you so much. There's no greater love I have than the love for my children. This is hard to take in. These cases are the toughest.
Okay. Can I just bring out one little historical fact on Little Miss America? The Little Miss America contest was at Palisades Amusement Park in Cliffside Park, Palisades Park, New Jersey.
That's Little Miss America.
The Little Miss America pageant was always in Palisades Amusement Park. And then obviously the Miss America pageant was always at Atlantic City.
Frantic City.
So New Jersey had the two little pageants like that. The Little Miss America at Palisades Amusement Park, and then the big one, Miss America. So just bring that up.
Exactly. By the way, folks, Court TV is with us, simulcasting. Thank you so much, Court TV.
We love you.
Make sure you hit the like buttons, folks, wherever you're watching. If you're watching on Court TV, hit the like. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you become a member over there. If you're watching on Vinnypolitan1, which is my handle on YouTube, like button, subscribe as well, and make sure you head over to Court TV. Court TV, folks, make sure you head over here.
So I have two questions. Have either of you gentlemen ever been to Palisades Park back when it was an amusement park?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time there.
I did. I went there quite a bit as well, but I was so young. It's just a vague memory.
I worked in Palisades Park. That was my first TV job.
Yes.
That's where I met Al.
Yes, I worked at Palisades Park too, doing at Bartolomeo's. Quality is our finest ingredient.
Yeah. Al was doing voiceovers.
Yes.
Hey, by the way, Ashley Bouchard, one of our mods. Al, what the heck is kind of pregnant?
Kind of pregnant is just,
Like,
you know,
it's like
kind of
dead.
Well, that's just the expression that the guy used about, you know, kind of helping, you know, so it's kind of pregnant. Either you're helping or you're not. Either you're pregnant or you're not. There's no such thing as kinda.
There you go. Ashley Bouchard, the moderator for us over on Facebook, part of our incredible, unbelievable Mod Squad.
We are the Mod Squad. Keeping order in the chat. The Mod Squad. The Mod Squad. Spotting trolls who attack. The Mod Squad. Oh, Gen X is ready and on the scene. Frankie Biggs making sure they're keeping it clean. And Jennifer Soubey telling haters don't be so mean. And Ashley Bouchard on top of our Facebook screen. We are the Mod Squad, cleaning up the mess. The Mod Squad, the Mod Squad, simply the best. The Mod Squad, the Mod Squad.
That's fantastic, and they are deserving of such a great tribute. But have you sent Bill Spector's estate a check for that yet?
Or Lala Banks, a check for that one also.
No, that's an originale. That's a Vinny originale.
Just like I was waiting for, is like, you know, deliver the letter, the sooner the better. But
All right.
that was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was very,
Yeah,
very
that's
nice.
the
And
premier
deservedly
candidate.
so for those wonderful, wonderful young ladies.
Yes.
I want you
And
to
by the
put
way-
Vinny. I want you to put Alan my head on a nice body with a nice dress like that.
Well, wait till CrimeCon.
Wait till CrimeCon.
Yeah, this
Yes,
is our
I am.
last show before CrimeCon, folks. Just keep that in mind. Next time we'll be talking. The three of us will be in the same room, okay,
Yes.
and at the same house. The as Vinny says, the secret address. The funny part about it is he calls it a secret address. It is so secret he's not even telling us.
Yes, I've not revealed where we're
You,
staying.
you know, I haven't stayed in a house full or a room full of men in like 40 years, like, you know, at a seaside motel. And, you know, I've been to the Y in the Summit, and I know you gentlemen have athletic backgrounds. You were on athletic teams and stuff like that. But there is one rule: no nudity. Don't be walking around.
How about
Don't
a
be
little towel snapping? A little towel snapping.
no towel
Exactly.
snapping either. Athletes tend to do those sort of things. I've been in the YMCA and Summit in the locker room. I see what goes on. People walk around with those things hanging out.
Yeah. Well, there's usually the one guy in the locker room who doesn't even work out. He just goes,
Yes. And
and the funniest thing, the older you get, the less you care.
Right.
It's
That's
always the
exactly
old-
right.
Like the old
No
guy
shame.
that will sit on the bench without even a towel, like just straight cheek on bench.
You know, I think that's the makings of a great sitcom. The guy who goes to the locker room, nothing nefarious. He just goes to the locker room every day and hangs out and chats with everybody who walks in.
Well,
even if they don't want
they'll-
to.
and for the we have mostly ladies watching, right? So they've never experienced this. Just we're
Well,
taking you behind the
I'm
curtain.
I'm told by Gina that it can be the same in the female locker room in the Y.
Really?
And it
So
bothers
the old guy, totally naked, strikes up the conversation with you,
And it's
No,
always like this.
the lady.
and you don't know where to look.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, son, come here, son. I want to tell you something. And I'm like looking at the guy who had just come out of like the hot tub, okay? And I'm looking at him and I'm looking at the hot tub, which has become some sort of a schmegma consomme. And I'm like, why is this man talking to me? Go away. Go away.
So I know guys who
Son, let me tell you something. You know, when I was a young man,
When I wore a younger man's clothes,
they had
when I wore clothes.
like this. You know, they're not as clean as they used to be. The place used to be a lot cleaner. Look at this towel. And I'm like, but good. I got something to stare at as opposed to your crotch. Okay. I mean, it's just a frightening.
Rhonda K8D, Cade. Rhonda Cade, K8D. It's ridiculous that some people think poor little baby Emmanuel is alive. The only chance he has to being alive is if Ola Man is real.
Yeah.
And investigators were so adamantly clear that they fully investigated that and found no proof of it. And what they've done is they've set up a range of dates. This is significant as well as when they believe baby Emmanuel's life ended, sometime on or about August 5th through the 14th. So they're not even sure of the date. That's another reason why I believe they need to find this little man, because they don't know the date. They don't know when it happened. If you don't know when it happened, you don't know exactly how it happened,
Right.
unless you've gotten cooperation, or unless these people were texting each other about what happened to the baby and they've gotten that information from the cell phones.
Can I just one point back on to the old man in the locker room? Then
I was trying to divert everyone. I was trying to get everyone out of the locker room there.
I knew if I tried hard enough, I could get us on a more less depressing topic.
I'm having like Vietnam flashbacks here. The worst then is when they start coughing. Okay.
Oh,
And you just see the body contorted and coughing, and it's just, and things are moving that shouldn't be moving, and it's just I'm sorry.
you mean it moved?
Because it's jiggling and it's going up and down and this, that, the other. It's just, it is really.
And we'll be live. We're going to be live a lot. There's going to be a lot of pop-up lives because we're basically staying in the real world CrimeCon house, right?
Yes, exactly right.
It's about to get real out in Aurora.
That's it will be Aurora. That's right. It will be a roaring at Aurora.
Witness multi-chick, old men in the locker room cracking up, watching on the Court TV YouTube. Thank you so much. Witness, a multi-chick. So here's a great question from Stephanie V 2906. Vinny, how did they know he had been abused for a while without a body?
That's an interesting point. I brought that up earlier. I said that, if they're going to want to slam the door on that aspect of it, they need to find a body, or they can take a look at medical records.
I don't think this baby went to a doctor, by the way.
We don't know. We have no idea.
We know the baby wasn't vaccinated.
But we do know that they have come up with this, and you come up with a theory like that through something. They don't throw that out there unless they have at least something that can lead them to that point, because that's a very, very tricky thing to be saying. Because the fact that if the so-called I rolled over on him and smothered him, by accident, is the way they're going with regards to how this occurred. Then if they don't have anything that proves to the contrary, this may end up being a manslaughter case. And it'd be an involuntary manslaughter case, which would have a far less repercussions.
Way less. You're talking slap on the wrist.
Imprisonment and things along those lines. I mean, you're definitely going to do time, but you're not going to be doing life without parole. Whereas they've come up and said definitively the child was abused.
Right.
So
over the course of time. Now let's go back to Jake Harrow's first case with his first daughter. Evidence that he apparently was searching on his computer about broken ribs and babies. So if that's his modus operandi when he is in the midst of doing this to a baby and things happen, does he Google, what to do? So there could be some digital footprint from a computer or from a cell phone that maybe he believed he erased, but as we all know, nothing gets erased.
No.
But that, but then could they say they know that? I mean, they suspect that if they read a search.
All right. Well, now you're building a circumstantial case, Jonesy. Circumstantial. Right.
Oh.
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Oh, I get it. So, like, if you wake up in the morning in the winter in New Jersey and there's snow on the ground, but there wasn't the night before when you went to sleep, you can assume that it had snowed.
Right. Unless there's evidence, and a defense attorney would have to bring in evidence of one of those snow machines, which, by the way, when I first moved to Georgia, I was this close to purchasing one so we could have white Christmases. There's a machine that you take your hose and connect it to the hose, and then you can like cover your front yard with snow.
Can we get one at the Tangent House, the Tangent Fun House?
We might get snow there because it's September. Who knows? I mean, it's crazy out in Denver.
Yes.
Like, it was a few weeks ago, they had hail that was like this big. So, anything can happen.
They also
we do have a hot tub at the Real World House.
Hot tub. I'm going to go to the hot tub.
It looks like
Jonesy's going live from the hot tub.
It looks like, I've seen pictures of the place. I don't know. I know Al hasn't been given the address yet, but I've seen pictures of the place. And it looks like the kind of place that would have like wildlife that I am not used to seeing in the state of New Jersey.
Like what?
Like snakes.
Snakes, maybe
Jersey's
some elk.
Jersey's got tons of snakes.
But not like,
Rattlers.
Colorado.
No, Jersey's
rattlers.
got rattlers. Jersey's got copperheads. They've got whatchamacallit? They have a ton of poisonous snakes. In fact, we've got 3 lakes.
You're now bragging about New Jersey having poisonous snakes.
We have 3 lakes that have the most poisonous snakes in the country. Okay.
I don't know about that.
You know what?
Well, I don't know. We're going to a
If
farm.
history tells us
farmland.
anything, okay,
All the civil rights and all the revolution fights. World War I and World War II. Al always knows who is who. It's this day in history. This day in history. History. Now let's listen to his story.
Start off with happy birthday, Michael Jackson, who was born on this day in 1958. He would have been 68 years of age.
Oh, how about that?
Okay. A day of history in the Revolutionary War. As you know, 250th anniversary of our independence is rapidly approaching. 1776, as we discussed last week, Washington's retreat from Brooklyn to Manhattan was a success. Thank you to the Maryland 400 that sacrificed their lives to set the British off so that we were able to escape and fog. Had that not happened, we probably would still be part of England. Also in 1778, the Battle of Rhode Island, which is significant for the fact it's the first time that French and the United States forces, or the American forces, fought together at a battle against the British. The battle was a draw, and the French and the Americans were under General John Sullivan. So that is on that. With regards to true crime, little interesting situation on true crime. We'll bring this up. August 29th, 1857. Duff Armstrong and another assailant red-rummed a man at a religious camp meeting after having some heavy drinking, and the man's name was Preston Metzger. Okay, this man was red-rummed using a slung shot, which is a blackjack-type weapon. Went to trial, and it just happened that Duff was the son of Hannah and Jack Armstrong, who happened to be very, very close friends with a guy by the name of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, the guy with the hat.
Abraham Lincoln agreed to do the case pro se. The trial went on, and it was the first use of what was called judicial notice, regarding an almanac. The only witness to the red rum testified that the moon was full and very bright. And it was, as a result, I was able to see clearly that Duff Armstrong was the man that used the blackjack and ended up red rumming this Mr. Metzger.
Like a Johnny Nash deal.
Then Abraham Lincoln took out the almanac and showed that there was no full moon on that day. And that there was in fact, at that point in time, the moon was already setting. Okay, there was no way that would have been able to be that bright. They had asked for the judge to give judicial notice to the power of the almanac. The judge granted it. Years later, they claimed that Lincoln had whited out part of the thing and used a defective almanac, but that's not true because the almanac was checked by the prosecution and it was accurate. So as a result of that, Mr. Armstrong was acquitted. Interestingly enough, he was the second man tried. The first man that was involved in this was tried and found guilty and sentenced to 7 years in prison.
All right, boys, I'm already enjoying the hot tub.
Finally, on this day, okay, in 1949, the Soviet Union detonates their first atomic bomb. In 1966, the Beatles played their last live concert before a paying audience, Candlestick Park in San Francisco. They played 11 songs. They started off with a cover by Chuck Berry, Rock and Roll Music, and closed it with Little Richard's Long Tall Sally. They played two of my favorite songs that are rarely ever played on the radio, Babies in Black, and then If I Needed Anyone. It's wonderful songs from Rubber Soul and from one of the earlier Beatles albums. And finally, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina lands on the landfall in Louisiana, killing 1,400 lives and basically coming up to the greatest natural disaster in American history, which we are still feeling the remnants of that horrible, horrible situation 20 years later. That's it for the days in history.
This day in history. Fantastic. By the way, here's a sneak peek at the hot tub.
Oh,
Jonesy, this is where you'll be broadcasting from.
Oh, very nice.
Indeed. All right, let me get there we go. I'm going to go here. So,
will there be a lifeguard? Will there be a lifeguard at the hot tub?
That's it's interesting. I wonder how cold it's going to get at night out there. That might be the best time to go in there when it's a little bit chilly, right?
And if it's too chilly, we could go ice skating.
What about shrinkage?
Well,
you had to push it to that level.
He took it one step
beyond.
Too far. One step beyond. Okay, so let's get back to business here. Let's take a listen to a little bit more from the press conference.
Before the rest of the room here, we have to understand what you're dealing with is an experienced child abuser that is aware of a previous case, that is aware of evidentiary things that we are certainly concerned with. So we're going to take every step to not only work with any suspect or witness involved in this, because at the end of the day, we have to bring a case to Mike and they have to charge it, and we have to make sure that every single thing, no matter what is told to us or what we discover in terms of evidence, is the right thing and that we followed up extensively.
All right, now let's listen to a little bit more because the next soundbite. Here we go.
The filing in this case reflects our belief that Baby Emanuel was abused, victim of child abuse over time, and that eventually, because of that abuse, he succumbed to those injuries. That's what we believe.
So, do you think?
And
so, I was wondering how you could charge both, right? In a red rum case for a 7-month-old baby, because it doesn't take two grown adults to do that. And I couldn't imagine a scenario where mom and dad would gang up on and simultaneously engage in conduct that would end the life of a little baby, right? To me, that was insane. Usually it's one's responsible. The other one may cover it up, may lie for them, may take part after the fact.
Accessory.
Yeah, like an accessory. But these are not premeditated cases, right? So he's not alleging premeditation. He's alleging a course of conduct, but it's not a single action. So I think he's looking at the combination of the two. Would it be enough, Al, if the abuse was at the hands of one and the other permitted it knowingly? Could they both be charged with the red rum? Are you following me? So like
Yeah, I am following you.
one is
So-
physically doing it, the other one knows about it and permits it to continue, does nothing to stop it. Would they then become as guilty?
Well, there's certainly going to be guilt there, whether or not that constitutes.
Because they're both charged with the same thing.
They're both charged with the same thing right now, but that's not uncommon. You're always going to charge high and then work your way down. So that's not uncommon. And then under these circumstances, as of right now, they don't know where things are going. Like I said, who gets to the door, the courthouse door first and says, "Listen, I can help," to gets the better deal. But under those circumstances, you are an accessory. If you are an accessory, then you can be charged. It's no different than driving the getaway vehicle. You're still part of the action. So as far as I'm concerned, you can get them both for the higher charges.
Even if only one is actually doing it.
What? Then if you go into a bank and then you with a weapon and you end up, shooting someone, okay, the getaway driver is in the same boat you're in. Okay, you're going to have that same charge against you, regardless of the fact that I never stepped in the bank. How could I be responsible for this?
Yeah. All right. I want to show folks some of the things from CrimeCon.
Oh,
Come by the tangent on Creator Row, our space. We've got these great evidence bags.
and we're going to be unleashing our business cards for the first time.
Our official business cards.
Official business cards, which are suitable for autographing. I don't know who you'd want to get an autograph from, but somebody there might be you'd want to get an autograph, and you can put it on the back.
Look at that. Would you look at that? We also, where do I have them? All right, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back in one moment. There's one more item I need to show everybody. I'll be right back.
I can say that I'm having trouble getting permission for the kissing booth. Okay, for some reason they're giving me a hard time on that, but I'm waiting for the go ahead on the turn down and/or tuck-in service that I had offered for our fans. So we're waiting to hear on that. I'm hoping, Jonesy, to get a permission within the next day or so.
Well, you're going to have to take care of that because I'm not a very good bed maker.
No, it's turned down. You don't have to make the bed.
Well, don't you have to make the sheets nice when you say tuck in service?
You turn it down and you put like little chocolates or mints on the pillow.
Ah,
Very simple.
like one of them fancy hotels.
Yeah, well,
We're also going to have friendship bracelets. Ashley Bouchard, our mod, made a whole bunch of them. This is the Historic Al one.
Oh,
Historic Al. We've got a whole bunch of. I mean, they're
as
just
opposed to the hysteric owl.
Oh, this is very popular. This is very popular with the young set. This is the red rum.
Oh, nice.
Red rum.
Collect
Red
them
rum.
all.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let me see. I got to get another one here. Let me find another one. What does this one say? This one. This is a long one.
A lot of fun at weddings and bar mitzvahs. That was the one that's actually takes two wrists.
Yes. We've got, of course, the Tangenistas.
Ah,
Very nice.
And we've also got some allegedlys here. These allegedlys are fantastic. And speaking of allegedlys, by the way, for those of you who don't know, we do have some a true crime merchandise available in the Vinny Originale shop.
And a hoodie, a beach towel, and a mug.
A new design from Vinny is better than a drug. True crime merch, you know he did it. True crime merch, mark the exhibit. True crime merch, we hate Casey. True crime merch from Vinny originally. Our tangent stuff is great, unlike any others. Buy it now, don't wait. Perfect for all you mothers. True crime merch, allegedly. True crime merch, stepped on a bee. True crime merch, it's not free. True crime merch from Vinny originally.
There you go. It's available.
Wow, there's no shoehorning on rhymes in that song.
What?
Uh,
Stepped on a bee. Do you know what
Stepped
that's
on a-
from?
from?
No.
That's from the Johnny Depp trial. That was a major moment of Amber Heard's testimony. Stepped on a bee. Veronica, will you girls brush each other's hair after the hot tub? Or Verica, 815. Thank you, Verica.
Yeah, I brush my hair 1,000 times every night before I go to bed, just like Marsha Brady.
And we're going to braid.
Sherry Ring praying for snow here in Florida. It gets a crisp 80 degrees on Christmas. Also praying baby Haro is found soon. Daddy needs to come clean. So I lived in Florida, and I thought it was amazing, the Christmas lights down there, because up north, you got to fight the elements. You know, you got to find a day where it's not windy and snowing. Down in Florida, amazing. And then in our neighborhood, someone had one of those snow machines, and it was melting very quickly, but it was still so it was falling out of the sky. We got pictures in the snow down in Florida.
They have that, whatchamacallit, the Harry Potter thing. They've got the snow coming out.
At Disney?
Yeah. Is it Disney or is that the other one? One of those. I don't know.
So I was in Florida during Christmas time once, and I did see an exorbitant amount of lights on like palm trees and stuff like that.
Yes.
But it's still to me, being a New Jersey guy, it just didn't seem right. It seemed out of place. I couldn't get used to it. You know, I don't want it to be cold, but it's supposed to be cold.
Yeah. I prefer the
Universal.
warm Christmas.
Universal is a place where I saw the snow
It
coming.
was Universal? Okay. I like the warm Christmases. I
could get used to it. I mean, I don't like the winters.
Very, very used to it. This is Teen and Tiny. Not Tiny Tim, but Teen and Tiny. Oh, that music, horrible.
You know, we get some comments about that, and you know, people on Facebook, I do answer the comments, and I do write back to y'all. And the comments on the music is, folks, enjoy. Okay. Sure. It's pretty fly for some white guys. Okay. That's the way you got to look at it. And that it is fun. It's boppy. And the problem that you have is because it probably stays in your brain.
It's like an earworm
that will go forever and forever. And you know what? That's the way we designed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The jingle.
We want to be annoying at all times of the day and the night.
All right, let's get back to the press conference. Here we go.
Indication or what we wanted out of the case was prison. We believed it was a prison case and that Jake Harrow should have gone to prison. Jake Harrow pled straight up to the court, which sometimes reporters get this wrong.
Not at Court TV.
And you call it a plea bargain. Judges are not allowed to plea bargain. Defendants can plea bargain with the prosecutor, but when a defendant pleads up to the court, they plead to everything that they've been charged with, and they're essentially throwing themselves on the mercy of the court. In this case, a judge here in Riverside County, happened to have been a visiting judge from San Bernardino County, gave Mr. Haro a suspended sentence, which means, if I can translate for you what that is, it means that instead of sending him to prison, he chose to give him probation and suspend prison time sort of over his head.
Let me ask you, Jonesy, do you think he has a good voice for radio, this district attorney?
Not necessarily. I didn't really, nothing stood out to me.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll hear a voice, and I come from the old school when they had voices, man. And
Right. The big yelling voice. Maybe he's more of a podcast voice or something. I think he speaks very well. He's also very bilingual. Like there's a reporter during there does a question in Spanish, and all of a sudden, boom, he turns on him. I mean, I didn't understand a word that was said, but totally like that, boom. But I think I thought he would be great to kind of do voiceovers for our podcast. After this case, maybe we'll ask him to do a few lines, a couple liners.
Meaning that if he violated his probation, he would then go to prison. My prosecutor in the courtroom objected to that and said on the record, we object. We think it's a prison case. You should send him to prison. And the judge decided, as is the judge's right to do in that case, he decided that Mr. Haro deserved an extra break and gave him probation and basically 180 days of work release, which ends up being like community service.
So maybe more of a newscaster, a radio newscaster than a DJ. I think that's where I am on him. All right, so let's go with what he's saying here, Al.
Yes.
As opposed to how he's saying it. He basically pled to the charges, right? He pled to whatever he was charged with. He said, "I did it.
Yep.
I'm guilty," and it was in the judge's hands. So the judge had complete discretion in how to sentence him. Prosecutors wanted prison. The judge did not do that.
They could have appealed that, and they didn't. That's the interesting thing. You could appeal a sentence. You could appeal a sentence.
You can't make a sentence more stringent.
No, what can happen is
Only an illegal sentence.
You said an illegal sentence.
It has to be an illegal sentence. It wasn't illegal.
They said it was an illegal sentence that, based on what he was, what he pled guilty to, that it was not within the realm of what should have been permissible under the state sentencing guidelines. So I'm not sure. Okay, but that could have been appealed if the judge's sentence was illegal. Apparently, it was not illegal, so the judge was perfectly within its power to do what the judge did under those circumstances. Before anyone is sentenced, they get a sentencing report, and a sentencing report will make recommendations as to what, and we don't know what that recommendation was, but the sentencing report, which is probation, will interview, and then they will come up with what they believe is the proper sentence under whether the person would be amenable to probation or things along those lines. So the sentence, I find it very odd that a district attorney would be basically going after a judge under these circumstances.
It also seems a little political in that he takes time to point out that the judge was from another county.
Well, of course he did that, because if the judge was from the same county, he wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
So that's the out he's got on that situation. So
here's the problem.
That's very odd. You don't see that. They usually say, listen, you know what? Chips fall where they may. Judge had a sentencing guideline, and the judge felt that this was okay. We were against it, but the sentence was proper under the guidelines that were before this judge at that time. That's what you say. You don't say that judge got it wrong.
No, you say the judge got it wrong.
Well, he did.
So is he an appointed district attorney, or is he an elected?
I think they're elected in California.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, but here's the problem. This is different than child cruelty was the charge, but it's not a child. It's a baby. It's a 10-week-old baby. How and the judge, and I'll play the end of this because he quotes the judge.
I will say that it was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if If that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today. And that's a shame, and it's an outrage. And I hate to say that, but when our criminal justice system breaks down, I'm going to just call it like it is and tell you it broke down. It's not how it's supposed to work. The judge had obviously meant well. At the end of their sentence, he told Jake, I'm giving you a big break today, don't mess it up.
If you're going to throw him under the bus to that extent, the judge, that is, why even bother to say, like, well, he did what he thought was, he's like kind of like make even it out there, and yet he's throwing the guy under the bus big time.
Well, the guy put himself under the bus. I mean, but think about what actually happened here and what it takes to do this. You're talking about a 10-week-old baby, and there were healing wounds. This wasn't a one-time action. There were wounds that were healing. There were fresher wounds. This was the ongoing actions against a 10-week-old baby.
Okay.
There is who can do that? And why would you think that this is the person who deserves a break when you've got by far the most vulnerable victim ever, a 10-week-old baby? He let this man walk out of the courtroom while that man's victim will never walk because of what he did. This child is forever bedridden. This child is suffering from CP because of the actions of this man. And he knows he's giving him a break? Come on.
Look, what is interesting from my standpoint is him calling out the judge like that. If this was as outrageous as he says, it's an illegal sentence. They didn't appeal it, which says to me it wasn't an illegal sentence.
No, he's not saying it's illegal. He's saying
No.
It was
an error in judgment.
error in judgment is not illegal. Prosecutors can't appeal unless there's something illegal in the sentence.
I understand that,
increased.
But what I'm saying is that then it was his job to point out that there was something wrong there. Okay, something happened. When the judges there are factors that go into a judgment from the judge with regards to sentencing. They're aggravating, and then there's mitigating. Okay, and then the judge has to weigh the two, see which one is more.
What could be more of an aggravating factor than the most vulnerable victim possible? To me, amount of weight that you put on the fact that the victim is a 10-week-old baby, there is no mitigation that is going to overcome that.
I don't dispute that at all, and I agree with you on that. But then the move was take it to the next level and show that the judge was wrong. Okay, show that the judge did not follow the proper guidelines based on the evidence that was there and on the crime committed and the what happened to the victim. Now, we don't know, okay? We don't have any idea as to what proofs were presented by the state.
Oh, they had the medical records. They had all the medical records.
Well, no.
What happened to this
but
child.
But do we know that was given to the judge?
Do we know if that was given to the judge? We'll know very soon. We'll know very soon. But
okay, I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, like sometimes these things,
he reads what happened to him, and he's reading from their records.
And then let me ask another question. What was the recommendation from the prosecutor? It said jail time. Prison. What kind of prison time were they looking at? We don't know any of those things. I would really want to know. One,
he said he would have been in prison at the time that this happened.
But what I'm asking
the sentencing was 2023.
What I'm asking
so it would have been more than 2 years.
What I'm asking is this: what were they looking for? Because it is very rare that the prosecution is looking for 5 years and they give probation, especially in a crime where there is a victim and a very seriously hurt victim.
I don't know. I've seen some of these judges. Some of these judges. By the way,
haven't seen that. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I have not seen that. I have seen that generally in a situation like this. And where were the victim statements? I mean, like, I would love to know that sentencing.
The victim,
Okay.
there is no statement from the victim. The victim
Yes,
is a
there is.
10-week-old baby,
Yes,
and both
there
his
is.
parents are being
There is.
prosecuted.
There is the grandmother. There is something else. There is the nurse. There is the doctor. You can bring somebody in that would be able to put out exactly what this child's life was going to
That's
be.
the problem. There's no one there for that baby. That's the problem.
Even
the whole thing.
a social worker would have been assigned to the case and could have made a statement on behalf of. And I'm sure there's a social worker involved. So, I mean, Vin, the thing is this: the prosecution dropped the ball. They didn't do what they needed to get this man in jail. You could have done it better, I think. He's not, but here's the point. He's not taking the blame for it. He's putting the blame on the judge. But the judge is only going to be able to compute what's before the judge. Okay? And if you don't make that point, you don't underscore that point, the
You're
prosecution...
presuming they didn't.
I am presuming he didn't, because I can't imagine for the life of me
I
that
can.
any judge in
I've
this
seen
country,
judges do that.
not on a baby, on an adult, maybe, not on a 10-week-old child.
Okay.
I have never seen that happen.
Right. Well, that's the problem. Like,
Why? Because
you've never seen a case where a 10-week-old baby is the victim and the judge says, go ahead, have a nice day.
My
Too bad for the baby, you'll never walk.
My
Too bad for the
prosecutor-
baby that she has CP. Too bad for the baby that her life is going to be shortened. Too
And-
bad for the baby that 93% of her brain doesn't work.
Okay,
Like-
so then do me a favor. Show me where that was.
I will.
the
I
judge's
will. We're
report.
getting the transcript.
Because if the judge had that before him or her, and I'm just using this in a general thing.
Yeah.
I've never seen a judge give straight probation on that. Never. And in my opinion, prosecution dropped the ball. And,
Okay.
and the
We
bottom
will-
line
we will
is,
find
bottom
out.
line
We'll
is-
find
bottom line
out.
is 2 children failed on this. Were failed on this. 2 children were failed
Well,
on the system.
there is one thing he got wrong, the prosecutor. He said Baby Emanuel would be alive if he had been sentenced. No, Baby Emanuel would have never existed because Baby Emanuel would not have been conceived. Baby
That's a-
Emanuel, 7 months old, 7, and then you got to add the 8 to 9 months before then. He would have been in prison at the time of conception. Vinny, I like Oompa Loompas, but that bee we hate looks like the one in the song. Kind of makes me sad for them that she's painted like they are. Indeed.
What?
Indeed.
The Oompa Loompas. Okay. Well, as I said, I would like to-
Joywag, that judge has blood on his hands.
look, once again, okay, I want to see what was put before that judge before he was sentenced. And you know what? And you rarely ever have a guy go up there and plead guilty and they sentence him at the same time, unless it is a disorderly person's offense. Not something as serious as that. There had to have been stuff done that would have been in front of the judge. And if the judge had that information in front of him, shame on that judge. No argument with you on that, Vinny. But somebody has to give it to the judge. The judge doesn't do his own findings. He doesn't, I mean, in a sense, he put together his own evidence. He takes the evidence that's put in front of him, and then he works from there. Okay? This is where I say maybe the prosecution dropped the ball.
Funky Monkey. I want to know why they needed a visiting judge. Don't they do that only if there's no judge in the county that can hear that matter? The counties are right next to one another. They help each other all the time. My guess is they may have had a shortfall, maybe a retirement or something, and they brought someone in for a short amount of time to come in. I don't think there's much more to it. It probably was not a special. It wasn't a special judge for that case. It was. I think it's probably just a judge who was sitting in that county for a little while. Then when that's relatively common.
Very common. Very common. It happens all the time. I mean, they trade. The judges are temporarily assigned a lot of times based on need. And if there's a shortfall with regards to the number of judges, you can't have the criminal court is one of those courts that has to keep going at all times because people are entitled to speedy trial. So you will have judges be brought in sometimes from other counties to help out if there's a backlog.
Okay, there's a little more to the story coming to us from our common sense investigator, Al. He's going after the judge because his office messed up after 24-25 by not asking other judges for Jake to be put in prison due to a probation violation. So he had another arrest and another charge, and the probation violation kept getting put off. I've got to research the reasons for the delay in the putting off the violation of probation, but that is a valid point there. Like if you've got someone who is violating probation, then you've got to jump in as the prosecution and get them locked up. That's what we
And the bottom line is like I said, the prosecution dropped the ball.
Well, I don't know if they dropped the initial. There's no way the initial sentence for someone whose victim is a 10-week-old baby who has permanent life-altering damage is probation. To me, is outrageous.
Let's see the case they presented.
Outrageous. I'm getting the transcript. Don't worry, I'm getting the transcript.
And I will be more than happy to read through all of it.
I'm getting the transcript. Don't worry, I'm getting the transcript.
Well, I have it for the hot tub, Vinny. Well, I have it for the
We'll read the transcript in the hot tub.
Ooh.
Librarian
roles.
Librarian to the Stars with a super sticker, and Librarian to the Stars has a rose for you, Jonesy.
Oh, very nice.
Very, very nice. There we go. All right. I think
Love is
we're
a
all
rose.
caught up.
How do you know it's for me?
A little birdie told me. Glenda Mezzacapo. My heart is broken for Emmanuel. Hope they recover him soon. I hope they recover him so he can rest in peace, and I hope they recover him so he can get justice delivered and he doesn't end up like Kaylee Marie Anthony without even justice. So we shall see on that. All right, we are quickly running out of time here, gentlemen. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. We have a finite amount of time on these Fridays because I've got to get ready for my show, 8 to 10 tonight on Court TV, your front row seat to justice. And I wanted to remind you next week, beginning Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're going to see a lot of us popping up live. So make sure you have your devices with you. We'll have our devices and we'll be going live as long as we can get a signal. There's no internet at the hotel. There's no Wi-Fi. There's no Wi-Fi. No.
Are you kidding? How is that
No.
humanly possible?
There's no Wi-Fi.
What are we staying at the Overlook Hotel with the shining people?
There's no Wi-Fi now. We're gonna have to use our cell signals, so our cellular signals. But when we get back to the real world CrimeCon house, we will have Wi-Fi.
Well, there you go, folks.
Yeah. So anyway, folks, you can find me every night, 2 hours of live true crime on television. On Court TV. 8 to 9 is Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. 9 to 10, Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 8 o'clock, the Donna Adelson trial. Ashley Bouchard posting in the chats. I saw that it looks like Donna Adelson may be taking the stand this afternoon. So you will see and hear the biggest moments from her testimony. 9 o'clock, we've got the body camera video from the Idaho students case in. We're going to go through that piece by piece tonight with some analysis as the first responders showing up to the scene of that absolutely horrific crime. Jonesy or Al, where can folks find you?
Okay, well, tonight, folks, I will be up at West Point for the opening of the Army football season. Okay. Also, it is the opening of Don Bosco football, who's playing out in Melissa, Texas, the first New Jersey school to ever play in Texas, which is going to be exciting. I'll be watching that at the Officers Club. So if you're in West Point, just tell them you know me, and they'll leave you into the Officers Club, and you can hang out with me and watch the Army game and the Don Bosco game. Now, Monday night, I'm usually on Court TV with Vinny, or Closing Arguments from 8 to 9, but we're not on this Monday because of Labor Day. So happy Labor Day, everybody. Enjoy the day off and get ready for the nutsy CrimeCon that is going to be going on with regards to us. And if you are going to CrimeCon, please stop by and say hi. And
So I'm
Yes.
going to have to bring a tripod if we do a hot tub show to hold the camera.
well, then, you know what? That was my stage name when I was a male dancer, is Rex the Human Tripod.
Oh, hey, oh,
But,
whoa, slow
Hasta la
down.
vista, Las Tanginistas.
The hot tub isn't that large. All right, Jonesy, where can folks find the radio legend?
Well, you can find the airtimes, the frequencies, the archives, the streams. It's all at glennjones.net. Glenn with one N, like mommy intended it to be.
Fantastic. And again, I'll see you tonight live 8 o'clock on Court TV. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And say goodnight, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see all of you in court. Somebody say tangent. Tangent. Somebody say podcast. Podcast. Tangent, tangent. Podcast, podcast. This is the Tangent Podcast. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see all of you in court. Somebody say tangent.